Borneo. This magnificent island, the third largest on our planet, is a place of staggering natural beauty and profound cultural depth. It's a land shared by three nations, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei, each adding its own unique flavor to the rich tapestry of life here. My journey here wasn't about conquering mountains or charting unseen rivers in the traditional sense. It was about discovering if one could truly live, not just survive, in this exotic paradise on a shoestring budget. The island itself is a living, breathing entity, with rainforests that are some of the oldest in the world, a sanctuary for creatures as magnificent as the orangutan. As I first stepped off the plane, a wave of warm, humid air greeted me like an old friend's embrace. Now, let's talk about the rather thrilling challenge I set for myself. Living in this magnificent land on just $600 for an entire month. To some, it might sound impossible, a recipe for hardship rather than enjoyment. But I saw it as a key, a special code that would unlock a more authentic way of experiencing Borneo. This budget wasn't a limitation, it was a liberation. It freed me from the tourist bubble and pushed me directly into the arms of local life. Every dollar saved was a small victory, a testament to resourcefulness, and a step closer to understanding how ordinary people live here. The excitement came from the daily puzzle of it all. This financial constraint became my guide, leading me to the most genuine encounters and the most memorable adventures. My $600 dare was more than just a financial experiment. It was a philosophy. My home base in Kuching, the charming capital of Sarawak, was a perfect example of budget living at its best. I found a room in a family-run guest house tucked away in a quiet lane, just a short walk from the bustling waterfront. For the princely sum of about $10 a night, I had a simple, clean room with a fan, a shared bathroom, and something far more valuable, a connection to a local family. The owner, a wonderfully kind woman named Mrs. Lim, treated me less like a paying guest and more like a distant cousin. I'd hear the call to prayer echoing softly in the distance, the cheerful chatter of children on their way to school, and the sizzle of food being prepared in the street-side stalls. My accommodation cost, at roughly $300 for the month, was the largest chunk of my budget, but it was worth every penny. Mrs. Lim would often share slices of fresh papaya with me or give me tips on which market had the best prices that day. Evenings were spent either exploring the vibrant night markets or simply relaxing on the guest house veranda. Life was good, and my budget was holding strong. Leaving the gentle comforts of Kuching behind, I ventured into the heart of Borneo's greatest treasure, its ancient rainforest. Bako National Park, one of Sarawak's oldest parks, was my first proper immersion into this wild wonderland. Within hours of arriving in Bako, I encountered the comical proboscis monkeys, with their wonderfully large noses leaping through the canopy. Every path I took revealed a new marvel, a vibrant pitcher plant waiting patiently for its next meal. The landscapes are as varied as they are stunning. One moment you are trekking through dense, humid mangrove forests, your boots sinking slightly into the soft mud. The next you emerge onto a secluded sandy beach, where the jungle meets the turquoise sea. There is a profound sense of peace in these wild places, a feeling of being a small but welcome guest in a vast, magnificent cathedral of nature. Standing on a cliff edge, looking out over the South China Sea as the sun set, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. You know, no journey to Borneo would be complete without connecting with its indigenous people, the guardians of the island's ancient cultures. My path led me to a traditional Iban longhouse, a communal home built on stilts deep in the heart of the Sarawak jungle. The Iban people, once famed as the headhunters of Borneo, welcomed me with incredible warmth and generosity. The longhouse itself is a marvel of community living. a single long structure where multiple families lived together under one roof. I was invited to stay with a family, sharing their living space on the ruai, the communal veranda. I spent my days learning from them, watching as they tended to their rice paddies, and listening to the village elder recount the stories of their ancestors. One evening, they shared their traditional music and dance with me. The rhythmic beat of the gongs and the graceful movements of the dancers told stories of harvest, hunting, and celebration. In that moment, sitting on the bamboo floor of the longhouse surrounded by new friends, I felt a profound sense of connection. During my travels, it was the individual stories of the people I met that left the most lasting impression. One such person was an elderly gentleman I met in a small village near the Indonesian border. Everyone called him Pakcik, a respectful term for uncle. He was a retired fisherman with a face like a beautifully carved map, each line telling a story of a life lived by the sea and the river. Pakcik spoke of a time when the jungles were thicker and the rivers ran clearer. He shared a particularly moving story about his wife, who had passed away a few years prior. His story was a poignant reminder that beneath the grand sweep of culture and history lie the deeply personal human emotions that connect us all. Meeting Pakcik cost me nothing in terms of money, but the richness he added to my journey was immeasurable. One of the greatest joys of traveling on a budget in Borneo is, without a doubt, the food. The island is a melting pot of cultures. Malay, Chinese, and indigenous Dayak influences all come together to create a culinary scene that is vibrant, diverse, and incredibly affordable. Forget fancy restaurants. The real feast is found on the streets, in the bustling night markets, and within the humble walls of the local kopitiams or coffee shops. Breakfast was often a simple affair of roti canai, a flaky, buttery flatbread served with a flavorful lentil curry. For lunch, I would seek out a bowl of the legendary Sarawak laksa, a rich and creamy coconut-based noodle soup. The night markets, or pasar malam, were my evening paradise. Rows of stalls offer an endless variety of treats. I would wander through, picking and choosing a little of this and a little of that. The key to eating well on a budget here is to be adventurous and eat where the locals eat. Getting around Borneo on a shoestring budget is an exercise in patience and an embrace of what I like to call slow travel. The sleek air-conditioned tourist coaches are replaced by a network of local buses, shared minivans, and, for the more remote areas, riverboats. These modes of transport are not always the fastest or the most comfortable, but they are incredibly cheap and offer an unfiltered view into the daily lives of the people. A long-distance bus journey that might cost $50 on a luxury coach can be done for less than $10 on the local equivalent. My journeys across Sarawak were often on these buses, which seem to operate on their own unique sense of time. For coastal routes or reaching national parks like Baco, shared vans and boats are the way to go. Instead of chartering an expensive private boat, I shared a longboat with locals heading back to their villages. This method of travel requires flexibility. It's a more mindful way to travel, encouraging you to be present in the moment rather than just focusing on the destination. As my month in Borneo drew to a close, and my $600 had been stretched to its absolute limit, I was filled with a profound sense of gratitude. This journey was never just about proving a point about a budget. It was about connection. Borneo opened its heart to me, from the bustling streets of Kuching to the quiet wisdom of the jungle, and it asked for so little in return. The spirit of Borneo will stay with me forever. It's a reminder that a rich life is not about material wealth, but about the richness of our experiences and the connections we make along the way. Thank you, my dear friends, for joining me on this adventure. Until our next adventure, travel safely and with an open heart.